Welcome to Redditenderbender. We give Reddit stories their deserving endings because we hate being left hanging. I'm a 44-year-old guy, been with my now wife since 1999, and we've never really had a sex life. I spent years super frustrated, but since probably 2020, I've accepted my lot and become happy without intimacy in my life. This has come through a combination of just getting older and those feelings fading away, testosterone dipping, and just generally finding happiness in the little things in life. There is no morning glory, and arousal is a thing of the past. I'm still married and have a great friendship with my wife, but she's now pushing for us to get intimacy back in our lives, and I hate the thought of it. Neither of us has changed much, and we've not let ourselves go. But I just don't have the inclination to let this stuff back into my day-to-day and have moved on from viewing women in a sexual light. We've had tons of issues and problems, but it's mostly settled at this point, unless this subject comes up. It was awful feeling unwanted, unloved, ugly, etc. And I don't know why she wants to stir this up again. We've had years without sex, cuddling, anything really, and I don't want the boat to be rocked. Anyone else had a similar experience? Let's continue the story from where OP left it and find out what happens in OP's relationship. My wife kept bugging me about getting physical again, but I wasn't feeling it. I'd gotten used to a different kind of happiness, one that didn't involve desire or arousal. I tried to give it a shot for her sake, but it felt awkward and forced. The spark was gone, replaced by a sense of obligation. It was like we were going through the motions, trying to recapture something that was long gone. In the end, it was clear that we couldn't force it. My wife could see the emptiness in my eyes, and I could feel her disappointment. We both knew that what we once had was over. We had a long talk and decided to get a divorce. It wasn't easy, but it was the best thing for both of us. We're still friends, and we're both happier now that we're not trying to be something we're not. The divorce was a painful ending, but it was also a new beginning. We're both free to find the happiness we deserve. Now, let's find out what happens if OP goes a different way. My wife wanted to get physical again, but I wasn't really feeling it. I mean, we'd been together for a long time, and the spark had definitely faded. But I still loved her, and I wanted to make her happy. So we talked about it, and we decided to try counseling. It was a little weird at first, talking to a stranger about our sex life, but it actually helped a lot. We were able to express our feelings honestly, and we started to understand each other better. Through counseling, we learned how to connect emotionally in new ways. We started doing things together that we used to enjoy, like going for walks, cooking dinner, and watching movies. We also started talking more about our feelings, and we learned how to be more supportive of each other. Surprisingly, this actually helped to rekindle our physical intimacy. My wife realized that while physical touch was important to her, it wasn't the only thing that mattered. She also appreciated the emotional connection we had, and she was happy to find new ways to express her love for me. We're still not the same as we used to be, but we're happier than we've been in a long time. We've learned to accept each other for who we are, and we've found a way to make our relationship work. I guess the moral of the story is that love can take many forms. It's not always about physical intimacy. Sometimes it's about the emotional connection you share with someone. And if you're willing to work at it, you can find a way to make any relationship work. Because we can, let's find out what happens if OP does something completely unexpected. My wife and I were talking about how we could bring more intimacy back into our relationship. I understood that she wanted to be more physically intimate, but I was content with the way things were. One night, a mysterious stranger came to our door. He said he was a magical traveler and gave us 2 small blue pills. He said the pills would show us different perspectives on intimacy and love. We were intrigued, so we took the pills. A few minutes later, We found ourselves in separate dream worlds. In my dream, I was in a beautiful forest. I felt at peace and connected to nature. I realized that I could find intimacy in the simple things, like the feeling of the sun on my skin or the sound of the wind in the trees. In my wife's dream, she was in a crowded city. She was surrounded by people who were passionate and sensual. She realized how much she missed physical intimacy and how much she desired it. When we woke up, we shared our dreams with each other. I understood my wife's desire for physical intimacy better, and she appreciated the depth of my contentment with our current life. We decided that our journey had helped us to empathize with each other's feelings. We would work on finding a balance that suited both of us, incorporating elements of the passion my wife craved and the emotional connection I cherished. We're still working on it, but we're making progress. We're learning to appreciate the different facets of intimacy, and we're finding ways to connect with each other in new and exciting ways. I think our relationship is stronger than ever. We're more open and honest with each other, and we're more willing to try new things. I'm excited to see what the future holds for us. What would you have done in OP's shoes? Which ending was the best? Please tell me in the comments below. Okay, so I don't know where else to turn. My wife, 42, has been really laying it in on me, 31, that I don't provide enough for my family. I'm a small business owner since 2014 and on average, make $3,800 per month, working less than 20 hours per week. Most months are really good, $5,000 plus. However, some are slow, lowest end $1,200. My wife has not held a consistent job our entire relationship since 2016. She used to help me market for my business, but stopped in 2018. I pay all the bills, groceries, trips, and miscellaneous things. Every time I ask her for help, she just screams at me and says, I'm the man in the relationship. Yet she rarely cooks or cleans at all. I don't really complain much about it anymore because she just screams about it. She'll claim that she does clean and that I'm the lazy one. I don't even remember the last time she did the dishes. I don't really expect anything from her except a little bit of help financially. I feel way unappreciated because it seems as if I'm the glue that holds everything together. And meanwhile, she just constantly berates me and tells me I don't do anything right. It's just exhausting. As of late, it has really been making me feel like I am less of a man and guilty for making less than what she considers enough. Am I being unreasonable? Edit. My wife is a full-time student right now. I want to be entirely transparent and not downplay anything she does do. Writing this initially was overwhelming, so I left it out. Thank you all for your support. I'm also a full-time student. Let's continue the story from where OP left it and find out what happens next. My wife was always on my case. It felt like no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. She was always criticizing me for not making enough money, even though I was working my fingers to the bone. Our relationship got worse and worse over time. I started to dread coming home from work, knowing that I would just be met with more of her nagging. I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time, trying not to set her off. One night, we had a big fight. She started yelling at me about how I was a failure and that I would never amount to anything. I couldn't take it anymore. I just walked out the door and didn't look back. I moved out and got my own place. It was tough at first, but it was also a relief to be away from her constant criticism. I finally felt like I could breathe again. I'm still not sure if there was any way we could have saved our marriage, but I know that I couldn't live like that anymore. I deserve to be with someone who loves and supports me, not someone who constantly puts me down. I'm still healing from the experience, but I'm starting to move on. I'm focusing on my own happiness, and I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me again. Now, let's find out what happens if things go differently for OP. My marriage was in a rough spot. Financial pressure and emotional strain were taking their toll. We were arguing all the time, and I felt like I was walking on eggshells. I knew we needed help, so we started seeing a counselor. It was tough at first, but it was worth it. We learned how to communicate better, and we started to understand each other's needs and expectations. My wife realized that she was feeling overwhelmed by her role as a student and her anxiety about contributing financially. She apologized for taking her stress out on me, and she promised to do better. I also realized that I needed to be more supportive of her. I started doing more around the house, and I made sure to be there for her when she needed me. With time and effort, we were able to turn things around. Our communication improved, and we became a team again. We were happier and more in love than ever before. We even went on a second honeymoon to celebrate our new start. It was amazing to be able to relax and enjoy each other's company without any stress. Our story is a reminder that marriage is hard work, but it's worth it. If you're struggling, don't give up. There is help available. With time and effort, you can overcome any challenge and create a happy and fulfilling marriage. Because we can. Let's find out what happens if OP does something completely unexpected. I was feeling the pressure from my wife. She had high expectations for me, and I was always trying to live up to them. But it was getting harder and harder. My business was struggling, and I couldn't afford to give her the lifestyle she wanted. I started to feel like a failure, like I wasn't good enough for her. The more I felt like a failure, the more I tried to prove myself to her. I made some bad decisions and took out a loan from a loan shark, even though I knew it was a dangerous thing to do. I thought it was the only way to keep my wife happy. But the loan shark's demands were too much for me to handle. I couldn't keep up with the payments, and one night, his enforcers came after me. They beat me up and cut off my hands. I went home, a broken man. My wife was horrified by what had happened, but she was also angry. She blamed me for everything, and I realized that I'd made a huge mistake. I'd sacrificed everything for her approval, and now I had nothing left. I was a failure, and I would never be able to live up to her expectations. I learned a valuable lesson that day. I learned that it's important to be true to yourself and not to try to live up to someone else's expectations. I also learned that it's important to be careful about the choices you make, because they can have a big impact on your life. I'm still trying to pick up the pieces of my life. It's been a long and difficult road, but I'm slowly starting to rebuild. I'm not the same person I was before, but I'm learning to accept myself for who I am, and I'm determined to never make the same mistakes again. What would you have done in OP's shoes? Which ending was the best? Please tell me in the comments below. Was wondering if anyone could offer some advice. My wife often goes out after work for drinks with several of her female and male co-workers. I would say on average 2 times a month for the past 2 years since she's been working there. The last time was for her birthday. Her colleagues decided to go out for drinks, and a lot of the staff, more than her usual group of friends from work, were to attend. There were over 20 people in all. I figured that since I've never yet once met her work friends or have never asked to participate or been invited to any of her nights out with them, that this time, because it was for her birthday and the fact that I'm her husband and more people than usual were going, that it would be appropriate for me to, for once, join and meet everyone. However, my wife was against me joining, and I recently found out that her friend who had organized it mentioned to her that I shouldn't come because it was only the people from work going. I honestly feel pretty hurt by it, considering I've never asked to tag along before or been invited. I thought this time would be okay, given that it was her birthday and many more people were joining. That and the fact that it's been 2 years, and I have yet to meet any of her close work friends about whom she talks to me about all the time. Am I wrong in feeling this way? Let's find out what happens next. So there I was, feeling a bit hurt and confused about the whole situation. I mean, It was my wife's birthday, and I genuinely wanted to celebrate with her and meet the people she spent so much time with at work. But she had been adamant that I shouldn't come along. I decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with her about it. We sat down one evening after work, and I just told her how I felt, how I'd never been asked to join her on these outings before, and how it would have meant a lot to me to be there for her special day. She looked at me with those understanding eyes of hers and sighed. "Honey, I'm really sorry if I hurt your feelings," she said. "It's just that work outings are usually our time to unwind and relax, and I didn't want you to feel out of place." I nodded, realizing she had a point. "I get it, babe, but I'd love to get to know your friends better, and I promise not to cramp your style." She smiled and kissed me. "You're the best. You know that? Okay, you can come along for drinks on Friday. I think it's someone else's birthday." And so, I ended up joining my wife, and it was fantastic. I met her colleagues, had some great conversations, and even shared a dance with her. It felt like a whole new chapter in our relationship, and it brought us closer together. Sometimes, all it takes is an open conversation to resolve issues and strengthen your relationship. Let's hear what happens if events unfold differently. Well, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about her reluctance to let me join her birthday celebration with her work friends. So, against my better judgment, I decided to follow her one evening. I trailed her discreetly to the bar where they usually went. My heart was pounding like crazy as I watched her walk in and join her coworkers. But what I saw next left me in shock and disbelief. She was all over some guy from her office, laughing, flirting, and looking way too cozy for comfort. My heart sank and my stomach churned. This wasn't what I had expected at all. I felt a wave of anger and betrayal wash over me. I couldn't believe it. The horrible truth was right there in front of me, and it was tearing my heart to pieces. My wife, the person I thought I knew so well, was cheating on me with a coworker. I stumbled away from the bar, my mind swirling with a mix of emotions, anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. It was like a punch to the gut, and I couldn't fathom how my wife, the love of my life, could do this to me. As I walked away from that painful scene, my thoughts raced. I needed answers. Confronting her right then and there didn't seem like the best idea, especially with all those people around. So I decided to bide my time and find out more before confronting her. Over the next few days, I began to discreetly investigate, gathering evidence and digging into her actions. It wasn't easy, but I needed to know the truth. It turned out that the affair had been going on for a while, hidden behind a facade of business trips and late nights at the office. One evening, I confronted her with the evidence I had collected. Tears welled up in her eyes as she admitted her betrayal. She told me it had been a terrible mistake, a moment of weakness, and she deeply regretted it. But the damage was done, and our relationship was shattered. We decided to separate, at least for a while, to figure things out. It was a painful and emotional process, filled with anger, sadness, and the realization that the life I had known was forever changed. We both needed time to heal and decide what the future held for us, whether it was mending our broken relationship or moving on separately. I was already certain I needed to start fresh and build a new life for myself. I would be letting her know soon. It was a devastating discovery that tore our lives apart, and it took a long time to come to terms with it. But sometimes, in the midst of heartbreak, you find strength and clarity to rebuild, whether together or on separate paths. Because we can, let's find out what happens if OP does something completely unexpected. On a whim, I decided to follow my wife one evening after work. I had a gut feeling that something unusual was going on, and my curiosity got the best of me. As I trailed her discreetly, I watched her enter a seemingly ordinary building. But as I got closer and peered through the window, my jaw dropped. My wife was in a room filled with high-tech gadgets, communicating with a team of people dressed in suits. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was like something out of a spy movie. My heart raced as I continued to observe. It turned out that my wife was not just an ordinary office worker, but a secret agent working for the government. I was torn between shock, pride, and fear for her safety. I knew I had to confront her and find out more. My mind was racing faster than a Formula One car as I watched my wife, the love of my life, engaging in this covert world of espionage. I had so many questions, and my emotions were a whirlwind of confusion, pride, and fear. I knew I couldn't keep this revelation to myself. I had to confront her and get answers. The next evening, I decided to take the plunge. She returned home, and I waited for the right moment to broach the subject. After dinner, as we sat in the dimly lit living room, I finally mustered the courage to speak up. "Listen," I began, my voice shaking with a mix of emotions. "I need to know what's going on. I followed you to that place, and I saw what you were doing. You're not just an ordinary office worker, are you?" She looked at me, her expression a mix of surprise and resignation. "I was hoping to keep this from you for your own safety, but you've uncovered it now," she said, sighing. "I'm an undercover agent for the government, working on a highly classified mission." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wanted to be angry that she'd kept such a massive secret from me, but my overwhelming feeling was fear for her safety. "Are you in danger?" I asked, my concern evident. She nodded gravely. "Yes, I am. And now that you know, it puts you in danger too. But I need your help more than ever." Over the following weeks, she briefed me on her mission and the intricate web of espionage she was involved in. It was a dangerous world filled with high-stakes missions, double crosses, and shadowy adversaries. Together, we devised a plan to protect ourselves and complete her mission, all while trying to keep our love alive amidst the chaos. As our lives became entangled in this thrilling, dangerous world of espionage, we faced unimaginable challenges and dilemmas. Our love was tested in ways we could never have foreseen, and we discovered strength and resilience we didn't know we possessed. In the end, it was a dramatic showdown in an abandoned warehouse, bullets flying and secrets unveiled. That would change everything. My wife's mission reached its climax, and we faced a decision that would alter the course of our lives forever. But that, my friend, is a story for another day. Suffice it to say, our lives became an exhilarating roller coaster ride of adventure, danger, and intrigue. And through it all, our love remained the constant, the anchor that kept us grounded in the midst of chaos. What would you have done in OP's shoes? Which ending was the best? Tell me in the comments below. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because you won't want to miss a single captivating story. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.